For Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, the Magic Kingdom received a brand new fireworks show called Disney Enchantment. And one would assume, being a new fireworks show, it would be bigger and bolder and in many cases better than what it replaced. That was obviously not the case. So as Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary comes to an end, we're saying goodbye to Disney Enchantment and hello to the show that came before it, Happily Ever After. And with the return of the show, it's a good opportunity to do a Tom's Honest review of what might be the greatest fireworks show of all time. Okay, so a little different than some of our other honest reviews. This is kind of going to be a watch along in some cases. So we're going to pull up a video. It will not have audio, so you can hear what I'm saying. If you want to, though, you can pull up our video of Happily Ever After and put it in sync, and that way you can hear the audio and stuff from the show while I talk about it. But if not, either way, we'll talk our way through the show. And we'll be using the recording that was just made at the cast member preview of the return of the show in March. And of course, as of April 3rd, the show is back nightly at the Magic Kingdom. So whenever you're ready back there, Jake, there we go. There's our wonderful opening. A little history of Magic Kingdom fireworks shows. Through most of the park's history, they had a show called Fantasy in the Sky. Then you arrive in later eras, they start doing fireworks synchronized to music. That becomes the Fantasy in the Sky of the 90s, which stuck around for quite a while and is still performed, in fact, for New Year's Eve. Still the park tradition, every New Year's Eve, December 30th and 31st, they'll run that Fantasy in the Sky show. But then what I would say the first modern fireworks show, Wishes, comes on board in 2003. People really love that show, but by the time that Happily Ever After was in development, it was clearly time for something new. People had seen all these shows with projection mapping that were out there. We had projection mapping shows, the shows that were just projection on the castle and some low-level fireworks for a couple years. But clearly people were ready for a big, showy, new nighttime spectacular at Magic Kingdom. And in 2017, we got one in Happily Ever After. I think people were very worried that you couldn't replace Wishes. I think I was in that camp where I was somewhat like, this may not be great. And I remember Jeff Lang, who you can check out, he's over on the Mouse Steps channel. Jeff Lang, great guy. I remember the show ends first night, and we look at each other, and I go to Jeff, and I go, that was great, right? And Jeff looks back, and he goes, yeah, it was. And that's been a thing between Jeff and I at a lot of debuts, if a show is great or not. I remember going to see Jungle Book Alive with Magic at Animal Kingdom. Kids, look it up. And it was the opposite, where we were like, that was bad, right? Like, yeah, it was pretty bad. So I've always been a big fan of Happily. I think most people are, but I know there's still some people out there that are like, I miss Wishes. I love Wishes, but I think Happily is the rightful successor. And I do think it's the best Disney fireworks show that's ever been done. And this song is part of it. It is a fantastic song. The lyrics are great. The music is uplifting and energetic and gets you excited for this show. And I love this build-up, right? We play with the projections, we play with the spotlights, and then we build to the first pyro burst, which gets a huge crowd reaction every time because you've built perfectly to it. In every honest review, we talk about what we don't like about something. I don't know that I'm going to have a single thing to say I don't like about this show or that I would change. And they didn't change anything, right? We were so worried. The announcement they made was so weird at Expo, where they kind of said, well, the theme song will return in a nighttime show. And they kept saying that, and we were kind of like, well, then I guess what they're going to do is keep the open and the close of the show and switch out some of the segments in between, because that's typically what that verbiage from Disney PR will mean. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and the show has returned basically as originally envisioned, but just now with Main Street projections along with it. But how great is it that fireworks shooting across, seemingly hitting the tower and landing there, the evening star for Tiana to wish upon. And I love using the balcony of the castle as a projection surface, and that's the balcony she's on. Everything about this so well thought out. Sorry if I get lost in the show at times just watching it, because it's happily, it's so easy to get caught up in it. And yeah, no one, I knock Walt Disney World a lot of the time. I love Walt Disney World, it's home, but nobody has been able to touch Walt Disney World when it comes to fireworks shows. That is the one thing we absolutely, positively have always done better than every other Disney resort on Earth. Here's Out There, which happily, there are some great original segments of Happily that were original thoughts. There are some moments in the show, and this is not a bad thing, that are sort of lifted from other really successful nighttime shows. Disney Dreams in Paris, one of the first of the modern nighttime shows with castles, has this tremendous segment of Out There from Hunchback of Notre Dame. And it is a show stealer. And then they bring it into this show, and because we could do so much bigger pyro in Florida, they just take it to a whole nother level here. And the pyro that's shaped like bells, and then this burst, what a moment. And the castle is covered in stained glass through projection. Love it. Here's another fun moment I love. This Merida, she fires this bow and arrow across the sky and hits the bullseye made of fireworks. There you go. There's me yelling bullseye. It's great. The lighting in the trees really enhances things too. You lose sight of it sometimes, but there's so much going on in the hub, which makes it hard to want to go watch from Main Street, right? Because I love being in the hub for this show. But from what everyone that went and saw the Main Street projections told me, that it enhances the show. It's a nice touch. Doesn't necessarily detract from what's already offered. It's not going to blow you away. It's not life-changing, but it'll certainly be an improvement for the people that have to watch a show from back there that don't get into the hub. Now, in the era this show was made, the hot thing was to make segments that could be interchangeable, right? And so this show came out not long after the release of Moana, so I figured this segment was one that could be lifted out and exchanged for something else at any time. The reason I say that is because this is one of the few segments that sticks with a particular IP and that IP only. So the other segments have music from a certain movie, but clips from other movies that tie into it thematically come in. This segment is purely Moana. There are no other characters that appear during this Moana segment. A great moment when the ray goes up the castle, and we have those bursts. The use of the spotlights also, I feel like no one ever talks about it. The spotlights are such an important part of this show. And if you get the right night where the smoke sits where intended, you get this great. This was a good night, this preview show. Everything showed up really well. So we want to quickly talk about what didn't work about Disney Enchantment. Disney Enchantment tried to follow happily the formula beat by beat, but then just did it with music and characters that didn't strike the same emotional chords for people, right? So there is sort of this like Friends segment in Enchantment, but the music is so bad. They almost feel like someone didn't have the rights to the music and then had to make like legally clearable versions that wouldn't get what we would call dinged on YouTube, that you wouldn't get demonetized for. That's what that segment of Enchantment felt like. And it's opposite here, where they have done new arrangements, but they feel professional grade. They don't feel cheap. This is just such a fun little sequence of all these like best friends from Disney animated movies. It's fun, big jazzy part here. A castle made of toys. And these toy block fireworks. The segment's perfect. like I don't know if you ever saw, I think it was Animaniacs that had Good Idea, Bad Idea, and it would show you the good idea, or the bad idea and the good idea. But like Enchantment's the bad idea, and then Happy's the good idea, if that reference means anything to anyone. And in a couple moments, we're going to have a callback to the first projection show in Walt Disney World history. I think it was actually the first one at any of the parks. This turret's going to take off like a rocket eventually. We'll get there. But here's another one of my, I kind of love these moments in fireworks show where the whole show stops and we have this weird comical moment, and we're about to have it here, where the castle sings "That's What Friends Are For" from the Jungle Book. I mean, it's tremendous. Also, the use of lasers to do sort of the Vegas-style lighting on the castle during You Never Had a Friend Like Me it's great. Perfection. But so this rocket turret taking off began with The Magic, the Memories, and You. First projection show was one where they put park photos from throughout the day, went onto the castle. Now, that part didn't really work because it was so grainy you couldn't really see your photos, but there were little things like that. And again, projection mapping, very young in its existence, very early in its existence. We had never seen anything like that. So I remember standing at that media event, watching that turret take off, and the whole place just jaws on the floor. And there's a couple moments in the show, again, they're like, these are things that worked really well in the past. We have to work these in because they still work. They're proven commodities. Let's keep doing them. And that rocket takeoff is one of those. And of course, the most proven commodity in Disney World fireworks, those big golden blasts that linger for a moment, right? I mean, those go back to the beginning of Magic Kingdom fireworks shows. It's always going to look good. That big tall castle with those big golden glittery explosions is always going to look good, right? Look at it. I mean, you never have to mess with that. It's always going to work. This love sequence, very powerful. The hearts, and these are really nice renditions of these songs. They're emotional. And this is usually where the tears will start kicking in the crowd, I feel like. This is where you start getting, and I think that was always the sign of a great Disney movie. I think Walt Disney always said for every laugh, there must be a tear. And that's what made Disney movies different from other types of family entertainment, from kids animation, was that emotion that is struck. And that's what makes Disney parks different too, right? Is that the sincerity of the product strikes an emotional chord with people that can last a lifetime. That's why we're Disney fans, I think, in most cases, are those heartstrings that get tug on. And that's I think the greatest mark of a fireworks show and any nighttime show is if it makes you feel something. This is great. Of course, Tangled, the lanterns from Tangled and At Last I See the Lights, always going to work great for a nighttime show. Begging to be a drone thing. Begging for it. Someday. Someday we'll get our drone lanterns. And this great final touch, these two lone lanterns at the end, just sort of swirling as if they're waltzing. Great moment. It is incredibly hard in what is essentially a clip show. I don't even want to use the word clip show, the term clip show, because Happy's so great. But it is, right? It is a clip show of Disney movies. It is so hard to tell a coherent and cohesive story. And I think this journey to happily ever after, right? Through friendship and relationships, that you're setting out on the journey. And then, of course, the battles, like the song says, the things we have to overcome on our journey to happily ever after, represented by this battle sequence with the villains. It tells a story that I think everyone that watches the show walks away could tell you, oh yeah, I got what they were going for there. I get it. And then, so another whole thing that's lifted from another Magic Kingdom fireworks show is coming up, and it's going to be when the heroes fight back. We're going to get the score from Pirates of the Caribbean, the Hans Zimmer score, and we're also going to see the castle seemingly blow up. That whole sequence, for the most part, is lifted from what was it eventually became the Summer Night-tastic Fireworks Spectacular, but it was actually a fireworks show for the Pirate and Princess parties at the Magic Kingdom. It was a third hard ticket event they used to do, in addition to Halloween and Christmas. They used to do this Pirate and Princess party that had its own fireworks show, which I thought up until Happily was the best fireworks show I'd ever seen at a Disney park. But this sequence, seeing this explosive lighting, the castle seemingly blow up, this pirate score, which again made another one of those pieces of Disney music that was made for a fireworks show. It's so perfect. So good, in fact, that same thing happened when the first time they did Pirate and Princess parties, or I think it might have been Summer Night-tastic. Someone called 911 to report that the castle was on fire. That happened during a Happily Ever After performance as well. That explosion on the castle was so convincing that people thought that was a mistake and that the castle was on fire. Blurring the line between fantasy and reality. That means you've accomplished something. And then again, like, you've just come out of this incredible battle sequence, and now we're going to tug on those heartstrings again, those emotions, with Mufasa reminding Simba who he is, and the redemption that's going to happen as the castle rebuilds in this emotional moment with I Can Go the Distance. Whoever put this show together musically picked all the right songs at all the right moments, and they're arranged in all the right ways. This moment, man, this is, people are in tears right now. Uplifting, inspiring. Our heroes have their accomplishment and are about to reach their happily ever after. And this gold castle with all the stained glass, perfection. I love that rainbow burst. Sorry, I'm just going to watch the show now. Talk about songs that are begging to be in fireworks shows. I Can Go the Distance was one of them. Look at this, the lasers, pyro, lighting, the sky just turning into a golden, sparkly, backdrop. And I love this moment where we bring things down to establish that the heroes have reached this moment, and then have this inspiring little piece of dialogue that's like, you should go and you can achieve your happily ever after. It's not something, same as like, and Tiana sets this up in the beginning, right? Like, you can't wait for happily ever after. It's something you have to work for, right? And it's a good message, I think, as opposed to just wishing upon a star, as much as I like When You Wish Upon a Star. And this little nod, of course, to Wishes, the what I call the Wishes firework. The arching star. And this is the best setup there's ever been for Tinkerbell flying. If you can fly, and she takes off, and the music crescendos, and we go into this chorus. Not a dry eye in the house. I got I'm watching a YouTube video and I've got chills. Chills. And I like that in the end, they're like, we're going to be lighting up the sky so much. Let's not overdo it with the projections. Just give me this sort of, this happily ever after castle, the gold filigree castle. We're just going to change colors as not to distract people from all the pyro we're about to dump on them, which is great. Without a doubt, it's the best fireworks show the company's ever done. And they've done so many and so many great ones. And unreal. And again, another thing I always love when nighttime shows have walk-off music. Leaving Fantasmic, you forget that feeling of Fantasmic. The show has ended, it's blown you away. And that awesome 90s Fantasmic score blaring as you exit, that exit song. Love it. And the same with here, this walk-off version of Happily. Even though you are stuck in this mass of humanity, you are fighting your way to get out of the park, to get to that monorail or that bus. You're still in a good mood because you've just seen this amazing show, and this great song is blasting as you leave, and this song is going to stick with you. Even if this was the one time you saw the show, this song is going to stick with you. It's such a great piece. And look at this preview. People didn't even want to leave. They're like, I want to stay for the music. So just to recap Happily, why does it work so well? I mean, it's hard to say why it works so well. I think music has to be deemed the most important part of a nighttime show. It has to be. I think like Enchantment was not inferior pyro-wise. It was no inferior technologically. But like a million people said, like Disney legend Ron Logan, who we lost not too long ago, said, like Don Dorsey has said many times, like all these people that have been a part of the production of nighttime shows have said so many times, it's not really just about the technology. It has to have the emotion. It has to speak to people. And this show does, and I think so much of it is the music and the imagery. You can have all this great technology, but it doesn't matter if you're not grabbing people, making them invested in the show. And Enchantment never grabbed people. The theme song didn't speak to people. The moments from movies they chose and the music they chose from those movies didn't do anything for the guest. It just didn't. It didn't land. It didn't make anyone feel anything. And Happily makes, I think, everyone in that crowd feel something. There is inevitably one segment in the show that's gonna speak to you. And whether it's I Can Go the Distance or, when You Can Fly plays and Tinkerbell takes off and we have the theme song, one of those moments is gonna emotionally grab you. And that's why people love Happily Ever After. That's why people are so passionate about it. That's why people have been fighting to get this show back. And we're so grateful that Disney listened and just brought it back. And Main Street Projection's a great addition, but didn't matter. If those didn't get added, people wouldn't have cared. No one would have cared. This show, just as it existed, the fact that it's back speaks volumes for the direction the company's going in and is. I'm so excited to go spend evenings at the Magic Kingdom again, just knowing Happily Ever After will once again be the nightly fireworks show. Overjoyed. And you know me, I'm not. People say I'm too negative, so if I'm this glowing, I have zero notes, ladies and gentlemen, zero notes on Happily Ever After. It is perfect in every way, shape, or form. I wouldn't change a thing, and I think it has a lifespan that, God, it could be there. It could be there for decades to come, and no one would have a problem with it. And I do think in the not too distant future, they're going to try to drop in a different sequence or two. And we'll see what happens then. But the nice thing is, the great thing about fireworks shows, if they go away, they're very easy to bring back. As we've seen with the conclusion of Enchantment, it was not a chore to bring back Happily Ever After. So if mistakes are made, we can always go back to this amazing show that we've had as a part of our life, which I'm so glad it's back because it had a truncated run, right? It was introduced in summer of 2017. And then due to COVID, it didn't perform for over a year, right? But then on top of that, it then wasn't even getting a 5-year run in the end. Even if COVID didn't happen, it was still going to be retired on October 1st of 21. which is a short run that this show did not deserve. It deserved at least a length of the run of Wishes, if not more so. And so it's great that it's coming back. Very excited, and you should go check out Happily Ever After, now back as of April 3rd at the Magic Kingdom. If you enjoyed this honest review, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. And if you want to support this honest review and others, you can become a member of the WDWNT Interglobe Society at patreon.com/WDWNT. Thanks for watching, and go out and find your own Happily Ever After.